We're back. Delay the game is back for the 2020-2021 NBA season, and this is the kickoff video, I guess. And in this video, I'd like to talk about a team I've been rooting for basically all of my basketball fan career. And it's the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs. This year is a big year for us. We just missed the playoffs last year, and we're in this tough situation for the first time since 97 or 96-97 season. And even then, it wasn't that tough of a situation because it was just David Robinson was injured. I'm sure if he came back and we didn't draft Tim Duncan, we'd still be okay. We'd still make it to the playoffs. We just wouldn't have 5 championships, which is unfortunate. But yeah, speaking of Tim Duncan, let's drive this back, or let's take a step back and observe what led us up to this situation. So Tim Duncan retired in 2016, and then there was this player. I don't know if you guys know him, but his name was, I think, Kawhi Leonard. And he was supposed to be the future. He was supposed to be our next 5 to 10 years of success. He was supposed to be our guy. And the next Tim Duncan, basically. And we thought he would be the next Tim Duncan. Obviously, he is not, right? There are some similarities. They both lead by example on the court. They're both, they don't like to talk to the media. Well, not to the media, but they just don't like to talk in general. But that's where the similarities end, right? Tim Duncan was a superstar who never asked for any different treatment besides apparently delivering carrot cake to his hotel room. But that was about it, right? He never demanded special treatment. Kawhi was way different. He needs the load management. Tim Duncan did get load managed a lot, and Pop sort of started that trend, I guess. But that was Pop's decision, not Tim Duncan's. Tim Duncan never asked for that, right? If you told him to play, he'd play. If you told him to sit, he'd sit, right? But altogether, he'd still be the best player on the court. Kawhi, if he's gonna ask, can I live in San Diego while I'm on an LA team? Clippers are like, sure, you can go do that. Yeah, I'm fine with it. It's a player empowerment era. I get it, right? He's a superstar. All power to him. So that I have no problem with that. But that's the difference between Tim Duncan and Kawhi Leonard, and I guess that's why Kawhi Leonard left. He wanted to be treated different, but San Antonio was like, nah, dude, you if you're ready to play, if you're in this condition just like everybody else, you should play. And the vets made that very clear. Maybe they should have. Maybe they shouldn't have. Maybe they should have given special treatment, or we wouldn't be in this position. Whatever it is, that's what happened. And now we are here. With two. I guess a lot of people have been saying, we should blow it up, and we have 2, I guess, stars that we can move. LaMarcus Aldridge, who's really old. I think he's 35 this year, 36. And he's still not great on defense. He's still working on his threes. And he was recently injured with a shoulder injury, I believe. How much can you get out of a guy like that? If you're rebuilding, right? Can you get a first round pick? I don't think so. unless it's from Boston, you might be able to, snatch, maybe Tice a few salary considerations and a pick. But that seems really far-fetched. I don't think Boston will move on that, knowing Danny Ainge is really likes picks. How much can you get out of DeMar DeRozan, who for the past couple of years can't shoot threes, and everybody thought when he came to Spurs, Chip England, who's one of the shooting coaches or the coaches there, the coaching staff there, who helped Kawhi with his shot. We thought, his shot would be fixed. He'd start shooting threes again, and he never did, because that's how Pop rolls. Pop utilizes everybody to what they're best at, which I guess is utilizing them to the max potential. He only uses them at what they're good at, which again produces winning basketball, but puts players in a box and makes them play a team game, so that everybody plays together, everybody fits together. But yeah, DeMar DeRozan can't shoot threes, can't play defense. He's like the opposite of a 3-and-D player. He needs the ball in his hand. I guess he's an okay cutter. Yeah, he's a pretty good cutter. But he's also been a better ball handler and playmaker since he's come to San Antonio. His assist numbers have gone up. Yeah, he's been a solid playmaker. He's averaging 25 and 5 consistently in the past 2-3 years. How much can you get out of a guy like that when the largest suitor was Lakers, who no longer need him? You have Dennis Schroeder. Do you need another guy who wants the ball? And Dennis Schroeder doesn't need the ball, actually. But who are you going to give up on that Lakers roster? Are you going to give up KCP and maybe Kyle Kuzma after a month because you just signed him on an extension, I believe? I forget the exact rules with trading after you sign him to extension, but I think it's a month or 2 months or something like that. You have to wait. How much can you get out of those two guys if you want to blow it up? Which will make it worth it to trade two fantastic locker room presences, two vets that will help, usher in that new era of Spurs basketball. I mean, the Spurs have always been built on solid, high character, class act vets that have been able to counteract whatever verbal abuse you're getting out of Coach Popovich. That's what they're there for. I guess you still have Patty Mills and Rudy Gay. But I just don't see how much you can get out of those two. I don't really see any trade scenarios for either of them right now. Maybe it'll be different by the trade deadline, and I'll revisit this when that occurs. Yeah, it's I guess it's a really difficult situation for the Spurs, but it's a big year for the Spurs, and they need to get their young minutes. With those two on the team, that restricts them, right? Lonnie Walker got no minutes in regular season last year. Well, almost no minutes, but everybody was like, "Yo, play Lonnie more." And I guess I get why Popovich doesn't want to play him more, because he's so raw of a prospect. There's nothing besides athleticism that he brings to the table right now. He doesn't bring defense like DeJounte Murray. He doesn't bring shooting and playmaking like Derek White. So yeah, and they got rid of Bryn Forbes, who doesn't play defense, but he's a pretty good 3-point shooter. And he'd fit well with Milwaukee, who require those 3-point shooters, who just lost with Wesley Matthews. I guess what I'm trying to say is that is trading those two the best option? Maybe come trade deadline, the situation will be different, but as of right now, I don't see any teams who would want either of them, and they can only give you what, 3 to 5 wins more, 5 being really optimistic more on a team, right? If you're a 38 win team right now, you get bumped up to what, 41, 42, 43? Is that really worth it? Just a couple playoff seeds higher and maybe like one more playoff win? You're not gonna, like, DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge aren't going to be the difference for you in the playoffs. And we've seen that, right? Especially with neither of them being able to play defense. They're not going to be the difference. And with them on the team, the Spurs aren't going to win that many more games. And it's an important year to tank because the draft is so strong this year. You're not going to win many more games. So, the situation might be different at the trade deadline, but as of right now, I don't see them trading either of them. And people keep telling the Spurs, "Hey, you got to move on, man. You gotta move on from these old vets." Is that the best option right now? Should they rush a trade, right now, or even near the trade deadline? I don't see the situation changing much, right? There's not a lot of teams out there who wants those kind of players. It'd be a lot more valuable if they had like a Robert Covington, right? That'd be different. Every team needs 3-and-D. Not every team needs a small forward playmaker who's, can't play defense, can't shoot threes. Not every team needs a power forward center who's doesn't shoot threes efficiently or consistently, and also doesn't play defense. It's a tough situation for the Spurs, and unfortunately, they've landed in the spot where they've got some of the least valued types of players on the roster. I guess we'll see. Maybe their games will transform, just like Rudy Gay's did. He's now shooting threes at a really high rate. At a really high percentage. Maybe they'll change. If anything, if you were to move players on the Spurs, I'd try to move Patty Mills and Rudy Gay. I think those two actually have some value when it comes to moving them to a different team. Rudy Gay can guard multiple positions. He's not great on defense. He's still slow, with lateral movement, but he's held his own. If you watch any games against Milwaukee, he's actually the one in charge of guarding Giannis, and it's hilarious to watch because he can't. But that just goes to say that, nobody can guard Giannis by themselves. But that just goes to say how much Pop trusts Rudy Gay as a defender. Or maybe he's just like, throw the worst defender on Giannis and just do whatever. And Patty Mills, he can shoot threes, and he's been the engine, he's been the heart, the soul of the San Antonio Spurs offense and that bench unit for the past couple of years. You've seen it. He's been the most impactful offensive player on the team. So you can definitely get something out of him. But as far as moving DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge at the moment, I don't see it. And I guess that's just what I want to say. And, whatever Spurs do this year, it's going to be a big year, as I said. Whatever they do this year, whatever they come to decide, I trust that the front office knows what they're doing. There's a reason the Spurs have been so good for so long, even as a small market, and it's because we've got great front office, great staff, and I trust that they'll move on and they'll be able to coax in the new era of Spurs basketball, and continue success just as they have for the past 2 decades.